All right, Chris. I am going to give you a phrase I want you to say. Are you ready?
Yes,
Okay. The phrase is always set to way. Got it?
got it.
When I call action, I want you to say that phrase twice while going like this. Okay?
Oh, I know what this is.
Action.
Always set to it.
Oh, you are my servant. Yay.
It took me
You
a little
you
bit to remember what that meant.
you do as I command.
Never.
Welcome back to Crosscut, everybody. I am your co-host, Josh.
I'm your other co-host, Chris.
And on today's episode of Crosscut, we are continuing the Mummy franchise with the 2001 sequel to the 1999 film, The Mummy Returns.
Memory returns.
We'll see what lies ahead in the future. Maybe we'll actually do the rest of the trilogy.
Oh, I was gonna mention that to maybe do the Scorpion King afterwards.
I actually have some fun Scorpion King memories. I actually saw that movie in theaters.
Oh wow.
That was actually so that movie came out in 2002. I know we're talking about Scorpion King right now, but my best friend, one of my best friends, his dad worked. He was like a radio DJ for like
Mhm.
a radio station here in Buffalo, and he got early screening passes to the Scorpion King. And I remember going to see it. And this was probably the first time I ever went to like an advanced screening of something, and it was like a packed theater. People were like hooting and hollering. It was like this was like mind blowing to me as a 12-year-old at the time. So that's
That's
my Scorpion King story. That if we do that episode, I will repeat it. Anyways, The Mummy Returns. I did not see in theaters. I saw this once again on VHS.
VHS. Same with me on VHS.
This movie was a huge hit in theaters. I think my parents also went and saw this in theaters. I just again didn't. I think I was just kind of too youngish or whatnot. But I pretty much remember watching this as right when it came available on VHS, which was probably like later 2001. I remember watching this movie.
Yeah, same here. I remember getting the VHS. On the back of it is has the jungle part of it with all the summary and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it also has the little bitty mummies on the
Oh, the
big
pygmy
screen.
mummies.
Yeah, the
It
baby.
might. I don't remember the VHS that much, which is funny because like one of my other best friends at that time for his birthday, I got him The Mummy Returns on VHS. Like I specifically have this memory of getting him The Mummy Returns on VHS. I actually kind of have a funny story as to I don't think this was the first time I had watched this, but when this movie came out, it was like summer 2001 and I had just finished sixth grade, so I was going into seventh grade. So when
Mhm.
this movie became available on VHS, probably around later 2001, right?
Right,
I
right.
was in I was in seventh grade. So the school that I went to, what happens in the wintertime in Buffalo? It gets cold, it snows. Now
Right.
when it gets cold and it snows, when you're in gym class in Buffalo, you don't go outside. You have to stay inside in the gym, right? Well,
Makes
guess what happened that year in my seventh grade year? Our entire gym was getting remodeled. So we didn't have a gymnasium at all that year in my seventh grade year. So basically, in the winter time of my seventh grade, I spent my gym classes in classrooms playing board games and watching movies. And I think
no
we
fun
got
there.
I think at times we used cafeterias like as like a little gymnasium at times, but I have a distinct memory of watching this in gym class in seventh grade. How many people can say
That's
they watched The
fun.
Mummy Returns in gym class?
I would not have thought that.
Yeah, just a distinct memory. And funny enough, I'm meeting up with my one friend who I said I gave the movie to on VHS for his birthday. We're gonna meet up this weekend, and I should tell him that story. I should be like, remember in gym class in seventh grade, we had to watch the Mummy. We were watching like the Mummy Returns, and so that's just like a funny memory that I have of this movie, like early memories.
I don't have like a memory like that. I just remember watching it so many times, wearing out the tape also, just like the first Mummy. I like the first one and the second one both equally. Like they can stand alone with each other. Like I know it's a continuation. It works very well. Sometimes I would say I like the second one more. Sometimes I say I like the first one more.
I think I can comfortably say I do like the first one more, but the
Mhm.
second one is a lot of fun.
It is a lot. It
And
has more humor to it.
it expands the story.
Yeah,
It definitely goes
character.
into some interesting story beats that we'll get into. That as a kid, I think I told you this when I was in Florida, but there's parts of this movie that actually I didn't understand as a kid, and now I understand as an adult. We'll get to that when we actually start talking about the story. I wanted to talk about 2001 though, just kind of wrap up on the year, including this movie. I always thought 2001 was such a great year for movies, especially just like fun blockbuster movies. So you had The Mummy Returns, you had Rush Hour 2, you had
Yeah.
Jurassic Park 3, you had the first Harry Potter. So that was all 2001. And then I kind of correlate 2001 and 2002 around the same time as far as like those movies. So even like 2002 when you had like Star Wars Attack of the Clones
Yeah.
or the other Harry Potter movie that came out. So it's just like the fun time for movies, especially like 2001. There were just so many like fun movies that came out that year. And
And
The
if you
Mummy
notice, there's a
Returns
lot of
included.
like sequels too.
Well, yeah, as I just mentioned, Mummy Returns, Rush Hour 2, Jurassic Park 3. So yeah, all sequels.
Also, technology advanced just a bit more too.
Mm,
Just a bit.
I mean, technology advanced, but
Not as
are you saying that the technology in this movie was better than than the
okay.
first Mummy?
I know we're gonna end up talking about the very last CGI in the movie, but even at the beginning, it was when he's narrating it, you see ancient Egypt again. I
Mhm.
don't know why it looked a little bit better from the first one when he's narrating ancient Egypt. Everything was
The first Mummy looked better. You're saying?
no, the memory returns because it looked more clear than the first mummy.
So maybe those shots did look better. I'm more thinking of. I mean, obviously there's the Scorpion King at the end.
Yes.
Does is it's going to be the standout of the bad CGI? But
Yeah.
honestly, like
That's for sure.
even earlier parts of the CGI for certain characters didn't look the greatest. So when we first see Imhotep kind of coming back to life, when he
Oh
kind of
yeah.
sucks the soul out of the first guy, it doesn't look good as far, compared to like the first movie. It looked
No,
very very
I'll
bad video game CGI.
right. Especially with seeing the two different eyes. I was like,
Yeah, it didn't look the
not
greatest.
good.
Also, the pygmy mummies were not the greatest looking. I mean, they're funny, but they don't look great.
No, no, they're not great.
No.
And
Which
then
is
you have
crazy. Like,
very bad CGI of the Scorpion King.
yeah, we'll just get it out of the way. So the movie ends with a big fight with the Scorpion King. I think as a kid, I just was like, whatever. I mean, I think it was just like cool. I think, because video games were still maybe not that developed with like how they looked. And I think it just like, okay, like, sure, that's just what it looked like. But yeah, over the years, definitely people have gone back and absolutely ripped the visual effects for this, which yeah, it's pretty rough. It's pretty bad.
I mean, as a kid, I noticed I was like, he looks different.
We'll talk about The Rock more in a minute because he's a new character. I wanted to talk about. So this movie's called The Mummy Returns. I want to talk about the characters that return. Overall, everybody's back for this movie pretty much. That doesn't get killed off in the first movie. We have
Original
Brendan
one, yeah.
Fraser. We have Rachel Weisz. We have Jonathan
Jonathan.
Hanna, John Hanna as Jonathan.
Mhm.
Yes, Imhotep, Arnold Vosloo, Patricia
Dr. Moon.
Velasquez as Anaxunamun,
Mhm.
and I think was that. Oh, and Oded Fear as Ardeth
Yeah,
Bay.
yeah, yeah.
So, I mean, it's just great to see all these characters. I think that's why this movie and the first movie just go so hand in hand together, is because when you can get those characters to come back, especially in that small time gap, it just works so well. Whereas, again, I haven't seen Tomb of the Dragon Emperor, but obviously there
Yep.
was a big time gap there. They
There's a big
recast
thing.
Evie.
Yeah, the only like two original is Brendan Fraser and Jonathan.
But for the most part, we have pretty much everybody's back. The main crew is back. No Benny,
Yeah.
but because Benny's dead. I think so. Okay, so that's our characters that return. Now we have the new characters. So we have, I guess, the
Alex.
Alex. Yeah, the main new character is going to be Alex, which is their son. When I watched this movie a few weeks ago on TV, I was reading about it, and I guess he's only supposed to be like 6 or 7 in this movie, which is so weird because he at least looks like he's like 10, 9 or 10. I looked at like the timeline, and I think the first Mummy's 1926, and this one's 1933. So figure 9 months for her to get pregnant. He's only
Right.
supposed to be like 6 or 7 in this movie, which is kind of weird to think about because he's not acting like a 6 or 7 year old.
he is acting like a 10-year-old. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think the actor was maybe 9 or 10 when he made this movie. Who the name of the actor is Freddie Both, and I'm not sure if you
What do
ever
you
read about
do?
him. He never did anything really after this. If you look at his IMDb, The Mummy Returns was his first credit. He didn't do anything else for like 7 years, and his acting ends in 2013. Funny enough, ironically, his last credit was for a project called House of Anubis. But yeah, The Mummy Returns was his first thing. If you look at his trivia, he had the ability to audition for the first Harry Potter movie, and he chose this over that because he was such a huge Mummy fan. It says he was obsessed with the Mummy. He knows every line of detail about the movie. When anyone on set on The Mummy Returns needed to know something about the first movie, they asked him. So
Nice.
yeah, but
I can imagine
he
if he
was
was in Harry Potter.
yeah. I thought about that too. I was like, who would he have been up for in Harry Potter? Maybe Neville? I don't know,
I was thinking
or I'm not sure who else he could have been up for in like the Harry Potter movies, unless it was just like another smaller role. But
maybe.
I mean, he was blonde. Could he have been sort of thought of for Draco? But he just never gave off Draco vibes, anyways. But he was like he's a pretty good actor in this movie, and it's kind of crazy that
Oh
he never
yeah.
really went on to do much else. But yeah.
Oh well, that happens.
And then we have so our next big character is Adewale Akinwumi Ajbahe. I know I totally butchered that. He
What?
plays Lakna,
Oh, okay.
the like right hand man
Yep.
who he has a lot of fun banter with Alex throughout the movie,
That's
and
always.
he's actually this is the first thing I remember him from, but he's actually been in a ton of stuff. Like he was in the 2016 Suicide Squad. He played
Mm-hmm.
what was it, the crocodile guy? Killer
Always
Croc.
been
Killer
somewhere.
Croc. That was his name.
Oh,
Killer
Killer
Croc.
Croc.
He was in Game of Thrones for a couple episodes. He was in Thor the Dark World. Yeah, he does a lot of like, oh yeah, he was in the 2011 The Thing kind of prequel. So this, oh yeah, and he was in the 2009 G.I. Joe.
Well, he
Another,
like plays the big muscled guy,
yeah,
always there.
or he plays like kind of like motion capture at times and stuff like that. We have just another one I was going to mention. Sean Parks plays Izzy, Rick's friend from the past slash the pilot of the, I don't know, what would you call that thing, the floating air balloon boat.
Yeah, with jet engines.
I love that.
Oh, me too. Every time I saw that on screen, I'm like, yeah, I want to go on that. That looks like
Yeah.
fun.
And then the last big name, this might have been somebody you may have heard of. His name is Dwayne Johnson, but in here he goes by The Rock, and he plays the Scorpion King.
See, he did a pretty good job when he's the Scorpion King in the beginning of the movie.
It would have been cool to have seen him at the end, not just a big CGI glop, but if they actually brought him in and just had him battling the Brendan Fraser and Arnold Vosloo.
Yeah,
Yeah, you're right. He's good in the beginning. He doesn't really have any dialogue. I think he has a few lines here or there, but he just
yeah, he
kind of
has a
sets up the story.
Yeah, exactly. Sets up the story, and then you have the movie, The Scorpion King, right after.
Right, which I guess obviously would be set everything. I can't remember the Scorpion King. I forget the story, but like I'm imagining that's earlier days than what we see in The Mummy Returns.
Yeah, because the end of the Scorpion King, he eventually becomes king. So
So that
he,
was
yeah,
like his rise to being a king. And I know
right.
they made a ton of like Scorpion King direct-to-video sequels, which I have no idea what those were about.
I saw 3 of them.
Oh wow, well, good for you.
Like it's ugh.
Well, anyway, so the Scorpion King basically kicks off this movie. We get a nice narration from Ardith Bay once again, kind of setting everything up. And basically, the Scorpion King, he was supposed to die, and then he gave his life to Anubis, which
Gave his
Anubis,
soul to
or his
him.
soul to Anubis, and then he became like his head soldier, basically for like his army. And
Yeah,
then
he led his army of the dead to conquer all of Egypt.
until they did, and then he decided to just kind of put him on ice.
Pretty much.
And then, because that's like 3067 BC, if I remember correctly. So it's like 5,000 years later. And then when the movie takes place in 1933, it's the year of the Scorpion.
Right.
Now, there's this whole group of people that are like the Imhotep followers or whatever, trying to bring him back to life. Are they? I'm trying to remember. Were they trying to bring him back to life because it's the year of the Scorpion? Like they have to do this year?
Yeah, that was like their prophecy thing, like because that is the year of the Scorpion. That's the year that the Scorpion King will awake. That's an
Mm.
all prophecy as well that you have to go to kill him in Amshir. The whole thing sets up the whole prophecy as well throughout the whole movie.
And
You
then
know,
basically
hints everywhere too.
they want to bring Imhotep back to kill the Scorpion King so he could take over Anubis's army and once again take over the world.
Of course.
But there's a little group of warriors by the last name of O'Connell that get in the way of that.
Oh yeah.
But Evie starts to have these kind of visions.
Yeah.
And the reason that she has these visions is because, well, we do find out that she is the reincarnated princess.
Nefertiti.
This yes, Nefertiti, who was the daughter of
Pharaoh.
the pharaoh, yeah, who we see in the first movie.
Mhm.
And so, just to mention, as a kid, I this went way over my head. I did not fully understand what was going on with all that. I knew this like, okay, so that's her from the past.
Yeah.
Me as a kid always thought that because I watched this movie when I was like 11 or 12. As a kid, I thought she's just like thousands of years old. So I just totally didn't understand that. But then not until recently, kind of like rewatching it on TV not that long ago, actually focusing on like what was going on, I was like, oh, okay. So she's just reincarnated. Obviously, it's
Yeah.
not the same body. Like I think as a kid, I was like, oh, it's the same body. Like, how does that make sense?
Even Imhotep, when he's talking to Anaxunamun, he said she's introduces herself like I am the reincarnation of Anaxunamun.
Right. Which
And
again,
like
as a kid, I didn't. I was just like, what's going on? Like what? But as an
I
adult,
caught
I
on
get it.
pretty quick about that for as a kid, like, okay, the reincarnation. Because like I already knew what a reincarnation was.
I think what makes it feel confusing for me as a kid is the fact that I look identically like each other. It's like, what are the chances that the exact same physical body? It's a movie thing, but I think that confused me a bit as a kid. It's just like Rachel Weisz looks exactly the same thousands of years later. So does Patricia Velasquez. Okay, it's a movie thing. It's like,
Yeah.
when they do a
But
flashback in a movie of somebody and it's their father, it's played by the same actor. Like, we get what they're
right,
doing.
yes. But I didn't think of it like that, like they're like immortal. I literally thought in reincarnation, and when Imhotep just tells her like you're a reincarnation in body, but not the soul. And yeah, then they do that whole ceremony thing.
But Rachel Weisz would have been body and soul because that what she would have.
But I have a theory of that kind of. You see Anaxamun's like soul, original soul going into the reincarnation of that person, right?
Mhm.
Okay, so she is fully Anaxamun now. And
Which also, what happens to the original lady? Like her, what happens to the
it's
original
probably she
bodies?
probably consumed her.
What happens to her soul?
Maybe it was like an exchange of souls.
So that lady went to the underworld, like her
Uh-huh.
soul. That sucks.
Yeah, think about it. Like he just wants Anaxamun, not the reincarnation. She's just a body to him. So that's when I'm thinking during that scene, you see Evie having
Hmm.
the same vision or whatever. You see the whole battle scene between Anaxamun and Nefertiti, which I think was amazing as a kid. I still think it's amazing.
I mean, come on, didn't you pop a little chubby when you were watching it?
God
Even as
damn
an
it.
adult.
God damn.
Which
I
made me
know.
think that
You're Rachel Weisz.
that poor curator with his little arm that got torn up at the end. I just think like, oh, now he can't jerk off.
What was I
Yes,
saying?
Rachel Weisz once again, cutie of the week.
Yes.
Although
And
I think Chris's
going
cutie of
back.
the week was the one pygmy mummy.
Oh my God. The fight scene's happening. You do see Evie like trying to feel that vision, but she's like not totally there when Evie dies and Alex is trying to get her back to life. I don't know why I always thought that when he's bringing her back to life, he's bringing back a soul. So either it's actually his mom's or Nefertiti's or
Well,
both.
I had the same thought. So when I was literally watching the movie, I was like, wait a minute, what if he brings back Nefertiti and not Evie? But then
Right.
I thought about it. they're all one soul. The whole
Mm,
reincarnation is the body dies, the soul continues. So really, it's one soul throughout multiple bodies. I think that's the whole idea of reincarnation.
right.
So she is technically both. Like that'd be the thing.
Yeah.
Like she is
She's technically
Nefertiti,
both.
but I think
Hmm.
when you're reincarnated, you don't remember who you were before. But
Right.
in certain circumstances, like in this movie's universe, she has these visions which end up actually being memories. So now she remembers that life.
That's
So at
what
the end, when they're
I'm
fighting and
saying.
she calls her Nefertiti, she is both essentially at that point because she remembers who
Right.
that life.
Because she acknowledges it too.
Yes. But I
So
had that same thought. I had that same thought.
now that makes sense more that he brought back both, and now she's like fully combined. It's not just memories. It's like it's her. It's her.
I do now understand the movie more as an adult than I did as a kid. Because I think as a kid, I just didn't know really much about reincarnation anyway. So I was just like, yeah.
I was just into it, and that's when I picked it up. I was like, oh, okay, yeah, they're incarnated. Nice. Oh, and speaking of Imhotep, his transition to power, have you noticed that he like got stronger in this movie than this in the first one?
He could levitate people. I don't remember him levitating people in the first
He
one.
doesn't. He's strong, and he's got his the sandstorm and whatnot.
Hmm.
And this reflect this one, but instead of sand is the water. And yeah, he levitates now this one. And he
Yeah,
gets its power quicker.
and then he immediately loses it once they get into the pyramid.
Oh yeah. Which I
Anubis
thought
took
was
his powers.
yeah, good. Yeah, he was just too overpowered. No
It was a fair fight between him and Rick, and then we have the moment at the end where this forbidden love story that's been told over two films of Imhotep and a Moon, and she leaves him. That's
No.
actually a great acting moment by Arnold Vosloo. This line reading sticks in my head 20 plus years later, where he goes, and he's got a little tear in his eye, and then he just lets go.
Yeah.
Oh, Imhotep.
He did all of that for her, coming back to life, trying to take over the world, all for her.
And
3,000 years later, still in love with her, and she says, nah.
I think she was being selfish in the moment. I don't think it's not because she didn't love him. I think it's just because she was selfish and didn't want to get killed. But like Evie truly loves Rick, wanted to go save him. That just goes to show what type of person she is. So
Mhm.
I would put like love aside. I'd say they both like Evie still loves Rick and Noxuna Moon still loves Imhotep. I would just say that Evie is willing to like put her life on the line to save
Right. And
her
that's
love,
what
where
was it.
Nukes the Moon doesn't, and of course she
Right.
gets her comeuppance with the Beatles.
Yeah, that was like poetic justice right there. Yes, you get the bugs. You get the bugs.
I was actually reading about the third movie, and I guess there was potential to bring Imhotep in that movie and team up with the O'Connells at some point
Oh,
to
oh.
like help out. Again, I haven't seen the movie, so I don't know the story, but I was just reading that and I was like, that would have been kind of cool to actually see like them team up for something. One of my favorite story dynamics in film is when the good guy and the bad guy have to team up for whatever reason in the movie.
A bigger bad guy.
Yeah, and I don't know. I kind of love that stuff. So yeah, I think that's kind of it. We covered The Mummy Returns, a pretty fun sequel to
Oh
a
yeah.
pretty fun movie. The adventures just continue, more swashbuckling, more adventure, more scares. You know, there's some fun little scares, and I
For
think
sure.
it sends the characters off on a great note until they go to China. Well, we want to thank everybody for once again watching. What do you guys think of The Mummy Returns? Do you think it's a fun sequel? Do you prefer it over The Mummy, or would you just rather treat the two as one big movie and it's a double feature? Make sure to like, subscribe, comment, do all the fun things. Maybe once again, maybe we'll get a director of this movie to come in and make a cameo. But anyways, Chris, take it from here.
If everyone you like the Mummy, you'll like the Mummy Returns. It's a nice sequel to it, and the story continues, like he said. And yes, hopefully the director can comment in here. A little shout out to one of our other episodes that we did frostbite. So the director, John Swartz, commented on our video and we had a little chat going on. So thank you for watching our episode. I hope you enjoyed it and I hope to talk more too. Cut, print, moving on.
Yeah, so Steven Summers, if you're watching, hey, hit us up. No, we got ideas for The Mummy 4. Brendan Fraser comes back as the Mummy.
Oh,
The wife will surely be.
I know him. He works in the
Are you sure?
She's breaking up!